I put us live. I checked all the things.
Cool.
It's updated. Since you put the title in already.
Yep. I try to take care of much of it. What happened?
You spoke.
Oh.
That's turned up really loud. Holy fuck. What the fuck happened to the headphone knob?
I don't know.
Also, where the fuck's the headphone knob? Control. There. Oh my god. That was...
Alright, is it better?
Okay, so... This is a halfway point where this is fine. Okay. This is where I could hear all of us.
Right.
Yeah, it was over here.
Yeah. That was probably the cat.
Yeah, they probably just went bloop.
Yeah.
And then decided to fucking... Archer, quit that. Archer. Archer. I'm gonna fucking strangle you. Between the yelling and now the bag, it's determined to be a pain in my ass.
He was feeling bad yesterday, so he was making up for it.
That does not give an excuse to be a giant pain in my ass. Since I've gotten home, he's gone in my bathroom 3 times and just started screaming.
I know, he does that sometimes.
Not sometimes. He does it all the fucking time.
He's just catting.
It doesn't make any fucking sense. He just goes into a dark room and just starts going, nah.
You know, to be fair, he's a naturally very happy cat. Maybe like he gets like a little bit of depression sometimes, and like the way that he gets rid of it is he goes into a dark room and just screams for a minute.
Like he needs to go yell at the void?
Yeah, he just goes and yells at the void.
Well, you have one in your bathroom. He can go yell in there. Not yell in mine.
The problem is that void is comfortable and he's used to it. But if he goes to your void, he's uncomfortable, and that allows
I don't want him anywhere near my void. That is my void.
He's a good boy.
He can go outside and throw rocks at the moon until it say, fuck you, space egg.
That's what he would do if he could. But there's coyotes out there, and we won't let him, so. He's a good boy. All right. Let's just
I saw a wrinkly bulldog puppy today.
Oh, that's awesome.
It did not want to be a good dog. It wanted to keep going. It was definitely a puppy.
Yeah.
And it was like, what's over there? And its owner's like, we have to go. We have to go. It just kept pulling it, but it's like, what's over there? But what's over there?
First time in an HEB bulldog.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was probably like maybe 3 or 4 months old.
Aw.
So it was.
That's awesome.
I mean, it was like that long, this chubby little kind of wrinkly ball.
Sure, my volumes are off.
I didn't even remember I turned Do Not Disturb back off.
All right, good to go.
Yeah. Find the mouse, move the mouse.
Was this year's Game Awards what we always wanted from it? Adventures, gear up for an all-new episode. You all right?
No, I was just thinking about fucking furry.
Oh, God.
Because that's what he kept doing.
All the time, yeah. That was his thing.
He creeps me the fuck out. I don't give a shit that he's good at a game or not. He just creeps me the fuck out.
He was nervous.
Like, no, he needs to not.
He's secretly the Joker.
No, he needs to just not. I mean, all of it. I did like his line is like, I'm black gay black gay furry. I'm everything Republicans hate. And I was like, yes, you're also everything that I hate because you're just creepy. Quit being creepy.
I just don't like creepy things.
I don't like furries. They creep me out.
Greetings, adventurers, and welcome to the show. We are the Surly Nerd, your one-stop shop for geek news that might have flown under your radar over the last week. I'm your host, James, and sitting across from me is the producer of this fine show, Tony.
Hey.
All right, and out this week is Hector.
He's on vacation.
He's in Colorado, I guess, doing what people do in Colorado.
What do people do when they visit Colorado?
I guess
I think they ski a lot.
Yeah, they ski.
There's like some...
He's with Lash, so he's probably skiing a lot.
There's like a Rocky Mountain High, Colorado?
Yeah, I think that's what they're doing. They're going to the ski in the Rocky Mountain High. That's what people do there. All right, if you're new to our show, welcome. This week we'll be talking about the 2018 Video Game Awards, but before that we have a recap of all the nerd news that's fit to rant about for your ears. Don't forget that you can keep connected with us through thesurlynerd.com. You can follow us on all social media platforms and even donate to the show. Every penny donated goes right back into the show that we make for you every week. With all that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, adventurers of all ages, it's time for The Prelude. Bless you.
I'm going to stop that. It's the feathers.
Oh, he sneezed.
She's eating the feathers.
Oh, got it.
Prelude.
All right, this is the prelude. This is what we've been doing with ourselves this week, what we've been watching, what we've been playing, what's been occupying our free time. Since you're the only other person here, Tony, what have you been doing this week?
I watched season 2 of the Marvelous Miss Maisel.
Oh, yeah? What is... I have seen advertisements for this show. What
They've
is
been advertising the shit out of it because it's period piece and it costs Amazon a fuckload of money to make.
Yeah, that's true. And that's what Amazon does well, is period pieces that cost a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
So,
well, overall, I mean, it's not the first or last thing I'm going to watch on Amazon. I fucking love this show.
Yeah.
I've discussed it on season 1 maybe last year whenever that came out.
So what's the basic premise of the show?
A woman is funny.
A woman's funny.
A woman is funny. That is the entire premise. No, it takes place in 1950s. This I'll give you like the kind of synopsis, like the very first episode. I haven't season 2. Her husband wants to be a comedian. She follows him to comedy club, or this like same little shitty dive like stand-up comedy club thing that he keeps trying to go to. And through the course of the first episode, they end up leaving each other, and she gets on stage drunk one night and realizes that everybody realizes, holy shit, she's fucking hilarious because she's
just drunk and angry.
Not just that, she has very interesting observations.
Right.
And
that's what most of comedy is, really. It's just observations.
And so she's trying to become a comedian in New York City in the 1950s.
Right.
Going through the process of a divorce. Now we're like in the second season where all of that's happening.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Raising her 2 kids. Well, I'd say raising. I mean, being near her children while her parents' maid does most of that work.
Right. So is this a show that you feel like you could recommend to most people?
Oh, to everybody. It's fucking great. It is hilarious. It is relatable. It is funny as
You said it's an
hell.
Amazon show?
Yes, it's on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
It's, one of the things that everybody keeps paying for Amazon Prime and not watching because they forget that they have access to movies and music.
I know, like season 3 of Man in the High Castle is already like up or something, and I'm like, fuck, I haven't gotten around to that. And like another season of The Tick's already up, and I'm like, shit.
I haven't started The Tick yet. I'm still not quite finished with season 1 of Man in the High Castle.
Yeah, Amazon's like my downtime place. Like right now we're in the middle of the fall season, so getting around to something on Amazon really doesn't happen very often, unless it's something I'm like super interested in.
This thing is like Marvelous Mrs. Maisel was fucking just. After watching the first episode, I watched it as the pilot.
Yeah,
and I was like, God damn, this is hilarious. And then like 9 months later, the full season came out.
Yeah.
I binge watched all of that in one day, and I did the exact same thing with this one. I was like, I just can't sleep. I have to stay awake and watch all of this. It came out. I need this now. It's so fucking funny.
Very nice.
And it's very enjoyable. It's totally bingeable, totally rewatchable.
That's awesome. Let's see, over on my side of the world, I read a crap ton of comics. I actually don't want to talk too much about comics this week. I'm going to bring it up probably on next week's Prelude. There's 2 really cool specific ones that I want to reference coming around the corner that I haven't had the opportunity to read yet. However, what I have done this week is I did wrap up watching Sabrina finally just in time for the holiday special.
Yeah, I was going to say that comes out like next week.
Yeah, like on Friday, actually.
Yeah, so shortly after this episode actually is up on all the podcast providers, including Spotify, where you can subscribe to us on there. Please do that.
Yeah. And I mean, it was awesome. It's everything that we were hoping for, everything that we wanted. I actually finished the Sabrina trade paperback just before we finished the season.
I need to start that.
Yeah, it's sitting on the table waiting for you.
Yeah, I know.
It's good. It's a lot of the season 1 stuff actually is a lot of notes from the first trade paperback.
And I would fully expect that.
The first trade is a bit darker. And there's definitely things they had to remove. Betty and Veronica actually play a part in the trade paperback.
Yeah, you can't have that.
You can't really have that, especially what they do in the trade paperback. It's really dark and fucked up, so you can't really put that in there. But other than that, like the spirit of this show is alive. I feel like that I could talk about the Chilling Adventures of Sabrina TV show often the way that people can talk about Harry Potter and liking the movies and the books differently.
Oh yeah,
they're like the elements are there. It hits
the same thing as a Marvel movie. Yeah. Like I totally love the Thor comics and I love the Thor movies. Are they the same? Fuck no.
Yeah, completely different, right? And probably for the better, to be honest. Now, one of the things I have been reading in terms of comic books is I have been picking up the new Uncanny X-Men line, and we are going to talk about that a little bit later in comics itself. But I want to give you a little bit of a brief overview of it real quick before we jump into comics. And that is, so this is of course Uncanny X-Men. This is their flagship X-Men series. It's not always going to be a weekly series, but for the first
Why didn't they ever come out with a canny X-Men?
Oh, Tony. Just don't.
I just wonder why they never did that.
One of the more fascinating points to Uncanny X-Men that I didn't think I was going to like at first, but I ended up really enjoying. I'm in issue 4 now because 5's the one we're about to talk about. Is that it actually doesn't follow a lot of the people you normally associate with the X-Men.
Like so Scott and Jean,
right. When you think of the X-Men, these are the people that come to mind.
Yeah,
they're in it, but a lot of these characters are people that you would maybe consider like B or C tier X-Men characters. A lot of them are going through their process of becoming X-Men, including X-23. And it's kind of like what it is to be a team, what it is to have these people, the X-Men, who are basically the giants of the world, right? These are people that are...
I'm sorry, like, the idea of having X-23 actually in the X-Men, like, officially, is ridiculous, because it's like, oh, she's going to stop killing people. But then again, Wolverine never stops killing people either, so...
Right. And so this whole thing kind of, the mini storyline is where did certain mutants disappear to? So like Apocalypse is missing, like Kitty Pryde's missing, who's stolen them and why? And
what is she locked in that she can't get out of?
That is actually a big part of the story. Is how the fuck?
Kitty Pryde can just go through anything.
How do you restrain Apocalypse and how do you restrain Kitty Pryde? You just can't. But there's a way. It has happened, and it involves an old character from the '90s called X-Man, also known as Nate Summers. He's one of the alternate children that are like Jean and Scott's kid. It's X-Men is weird.
There's time travel involved.
There's time travel involved.
Which is bullshit. Like, I'm sorry, if you're gonna fucking throw time travel in there and you're going to erase a fucking alternate future, you can't just have Bishop laying around. He doesn't exist anymore. He's done.
Yeah, well, they did kill Cable recently. That was a thing that happened in the comics. But I will say I was a little skeptical.
Another example.
I was a little skeptical going into the new run of Uncanny X-Men.
Yeah.
Because I was expecting my classics, right? I was expecting to jump right in with the heroes that I know and love. And it took me a little bit of a growing period to go, okay, these are these new characters telling this new story. But I think ultimately it's starting to pay off because what they're doing, the writers are doing with this, is they are making when X-Men show up have a bigger impact. And I will specifically talk about that in comics, which we're about to go into.
Sorry, I was like, was like in the middle of a swallow,
I know.
and I was like, I know what we're doing, but like, I didn't realize it was coming like right then.
Yeah.
All right. No one's watching this, but I'll move the thing along anyway, just for. Level 1, comic book news.
Hey, Adventurers, welcome back to the show. All right, we are jumping into comics, but I was teasing you a little bit because I don't want to get to the X-Men news just yet. Because Tony's going to love this news. I'm curious to see what his opinion about this is. So we are going to keep things Marvel-centric, however. And one of the cool things that Marvel announced this week is that they're planning on a Guardians of the Galaxy launch party next month. And by party, I mean parties. So Donny Cates, who is working on the new Guardians of the Galaxy series, which of course launches next month, with a new roster of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, we're really interested in seeing what's
like Cosmic Ghost Rider is one of them.
Yeah, like that's odd.
I mean, that's his character. He made it, and he was like, fuck it, I'm putting him in the Guardians. Let's do this. So what Marvel's wanting to do is instead of just putting out variant covers or just doing something that people normally do to drum
They're
up,
making variant parties.
They're making variant parties. That's exactly what they're doing.
That's what they're doing.
So you can go, I believe, online over to Marvel.com and look for like comic shops in your areas. And these comic shops that are going to be having these launch parties are going to have like variant covers that are specific to their comic book shop or something to kind of just pay tribute to.
Yeah, I'm used to that here in Austin because Austin Books and Comics has a fuckload of variants that are just for their store.
Yeah, and so they're going to have posters that you can get. They're going to have all kinds of really cool stuff. And this is all just to promote saying like, hey, we know that you guys know and love the Guardians of the Galaxy, but where their story is within the comics right now is kind of ended. And now we're going to launch the new Guardians of the Galaxy.
So let's get together and talk about some Guardians together.
And right now, Donny Cates, like I said last week, he's a hot fucking writer. Like he's doing so well. All the stuff that I've been reading from him is just like gold. So I'm actually really curious to pick up this Guardians of the Galaxy, even though I don't know every member on the team. In fact, it might be even better because I don't know every member on the team.
That is true. And Guardians is one of those ones where I don't really give a shit who's actually part of the team until I get there and I'm like, okay, either I'm gonna like you or not like you. Right. And that's just the power of the writing. Like I think it's it's a left open interpret. It's much like the X-Men.
Yeah.
It's the team could be like, I don't know. We'll see what's going to happen with these guys when they all get together.
What really fascinates me about the current run of the Guardians of the Galaxy is that I've been reading this like side series that's been going on for a few months called it's called Infinity something, and now I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Basically, the story
Infinity something. It's a very good title.
And
everybody's reading it.
The premise of it is that Thanos is killed. Finally, somebody has assassinated Thanos, and a lot of the events that happen end up becoming some of the Infinity Stones get brought together and they start manipulating reality. But here's the thing: Earth, as we know it, has been like left doing its own thing. Like all the storylines in Marvel, they are fine. None of them are being touched by Infinity Wars. It's called Infinity Wars. And it's called that specifically because the Infinity Stones start fucking with reality, and then you start to get these weird crossover characters. So you have people like Arachnite, who is a combination of Spider-Man and Moon Knight, because that's a good idea somewhere.
Yeah, let's have a psychotic person be able to swing through the air.
Right. Then you have like Ghost Panther. There's your two right there. So Black Panther and Spirit of Vengeance. And so I thought this was an alternate reality series that I was picking up, and again, I'm only kind of coming back into comics heavily on the Marvel side after being in absence for a long time. And I talked to somebody who's a heavy Marvel guy, and I was like, yeah, this is such a strange series for like it being kind of an Elseworld story. And he's like, no, this is all happening right now in the reality. It's just that it's a cosmic event, so Earth really isn't being affected by what's going on. So some of these crossover characters may stay in the Marvel universe, but with that in mind, that's what's leading to the events of what's happening with this new Guardians of the Galaxy. And it just kind of blew my mind that it's something that I read like the first 3 issues of, and I'm like, oh, this is a fun little Elseworld. And they're like, nope, this is actually going to have like an effect on the Marvel universe.
It gives me an interesting idea. Like, all right, so like the idea of like the Infinity Wars, I think it'd be a lot cooler if the stones started fighting each other for like dominance, and then and that would be kind of interesting to see like which stone would be the one to be the
top dog,
be the top stone, yeah.
Be,
and then have how they all manipulate reality.
Have you ever
in time
played a game of marbles? It would pretty much look like that.
Maybe
because they're stones, and that's
but they all have powers, and those different powers can influence things around them.
That is true.
Obviously,
that is true. It could be interesting. But yeah, as soon as I get my hands on Guardians #1, and I'm actually going to see if we have any of these launch parties going on in Austin. If so, I might want to drop by and just check it out and see. That'd
be cool to check out. I'm pretty sure we'll have one of them here. We're a pretty comic book city. Yeah,
that is true. So we're going to jump over real quick over to IDW, but still talking about Marvel. We talked previously on the show about how IDW is picking up and doing a kind of for all ages or for a younger age Spider-Man comic. And they're continuing down that train. They're going to be producing a new upcoming comic called Marvel Action (Avengers). So Marvel Action is the name of their series, and they kind of whatever it is. And so this is going to be their Avengers line. And so keeping in the same spirit as the Spider-Man comic, Marvel Action Avengers is going to be an Avengers comic kind of for a younger audience. It's an all ages is what they're calling it, comic book. But the big kind of key takeaway from the interviews that I was reading about this is that everybody who's working on this project said our goal is with this particular series of comic books is to write a series of comics that's not only all ages, but most accurately reflects the Avengers which we have met on the big screen. So it's supposed to be more in line with the MCU movie, universe than it is the comic book universe.
That's interesting. That is really interesting because we haven't really had that at all at this point.
Right. They want to be the default de facto place that when somebody comes out of Avengers Endgame or whatever and says, I want to read some Avengers, they go, you know what, here's a comic book that these stories are basically the same characters that you've been watching for the last 10 years.
So they're retelling the Ultimates line.
But
after what happened to the Ultimates line.
After what happened to the Ultimates line, after all the Earth blew up and everything. But I think it's a really cool concept because we've been asking for something like this for ages, right? We know that Captain Marvel's doing it loosely right now. Guardians actually went back and did it. But there's a lot of history behind the Avengers.
There's no good place to be like, where should I jump on reading Captain America? I'm like, I don't know, like... Yeah, after he came back from being dead again for like the third time,
right? It's a hard place. But for IDW to step up and say we want to be that, I think that's awesome. Like that,
I think it's really good, and I think this is something that we as fans have been asking for clamoring for quite a while.
It took a company that's not Marvel to make it.
Yeah, it's literally been about 10 years where we've been like, hey, maybe you should actually explain more about your films inside your comic book universe.
I'm pretty sure that if you go back and listen to our episode, and don't do that, where we talk about when Secret Wars happened a few years back and the Marvel landscape was about to reset, we said the only thing we want you to do is make this go in line with your movies.
Yeah, and they were like, and they literally fucked that.
They were like,
bent it right over and said, "Fuck that."
We're like, that's a great idea. So what we're gonna do is take that idea and go do the opposite of it.
Yeah, we are going to do a convoluted mess of a reset that everyone's going to hate, and it's going to take 2 years to actually get to a logical place where people will buy our comic books again.
Guys, DC minorly botched their reset, and they still managed to get away with it. I mean, come on, if DC's beating you out on the reset category, there's a problem.
I mean, DC, the king of like, it's been 2 years, it's time to reset again. Like, maybe I think that's why they got it right finally.
Yeah.
Because they tried over and over and over again, and they finally got it right. And DC is sticking with this one.
That is true.
They're like, wait, we got a formula. We know what we're doing now.
Yep.
I mean,
trial and error, right?
They've done that with the movies so far, and it somewhat succeeded once.
I mean, the fun thing about like
because no, Aquaman's not out yet, is it?
Like, no, it's not.
Okay, so we don't know. They've only done it once, somewhat successfully.
But I mean, DC Rebirth like still has elements where they keep talking about this alternate timeline, which is like the New 52 and all that. But they keep like just like foreplaying it. They're like, there's this thing that happened like a while back where like we all have like 5 years of memory that we'd have no idea what happened.
And we're going to figure it out eventually once basically not Dr. Manhattan gives us our memories back.
Yeah, but I mean, we are like 3 to 4 years into DC Rebirth at this point, and they still haven't explained it. They're just like, we'll get to it. We have other stories we want to tell. Like, we'll come back there like when we're desperate. And I think that's worked out for the betterment of DC. They said, you know what, for the fans, we're going to eventually tie these things together, but really we're here to reset. And
I mean, honestly, that's the next time DC decides they want to get pissy and reset their universe. They're like, all right, we'll tell you about those missing 5 years. And they do that for 5 years. And they're like, oh, now we can continue down where we last left off and reset back to the other timeline because they got annoyed and went back to the other one.
Please don't do that. That was a bad timeline.
Literally what DC will do. I'm just telling you right now. I called it. That's what's going to fucking happen.
All right, so let's move on to our last little bit of comic book news for the week. And now we're going to get to that X-Men stuff that I've been talking about so much. So like I was saying earlier, the cool thing about Uncanny X-Men is that they use the big names in X-Men very sparingly. Like when somebody like Jean Grey or the Beast shows up, it has a larger impact because these are up-and-coming students, right? You have like people you don't even care about, like Glob and shit that are in there. And
honestly, they're out of the, how many mutants are there now? Like maybe 500?
Actually, it said it in the most recent comic book, 200.
Okay, so they've gone up
by 2.
By 2. Wow, that means they've killed off a few of them, and like
there's a whole arc with Hope Summers, and what that all thing was. That's actually not her last name. It was given to her by Cable.
Okay,
she's not a Summers child.
Okay, it's Cable being a douchebag.
Right. Yeah. He took care of this child for literally like 18 years.
Okay.
Because she was the last mutant. There was a whole like Children of Men thing going on.
Yeah, that's fine. Don't. But what I'm saying is like out of the now 200 X-Men. I give a shit of mutants. Sorry, mutants. Yes. That's what I said. That's what I meant. Mutants. I only really maybe give a shit about 10 of them.
Right.
Like that's 190 mutants that
you don't.
I don't fucking care.
Right.
So maybe that's a good opportunity to introduce out of these 190 these ones I might give a shit about. It's also very good that Marvel has like, no, we can legit make 200 characters. That is exactly it.
Yeah.
We can do whatever stories we want. So we have 200 preset done characters.
Yeah.
I think that's actually a brilliant fucking idea. If only they'd started doing that a few years ago instead of fucking off with
the 90s called "Take Their Mutants Back, Please."
Yeah, get rid of the fucking 90s mutants.
And part of the 80s as well.
Stop. I'm glad that we're done with the fucking space not mutants. The fucking moon people.
Oh, the Shi'ar people. Well, the Shi'ar people aren't. Oh, you're talking about the Inhumans.
Yeah, the Inhumans. I fucking hate the Inhumans, which is just it's the Kmart of X-Men.
It really
is. And X-Men's is like the Kmart of the Fantastic Four.
That is not true.
Oh, come on. They're just a spillover from the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. So, what I was kind of going into here is that in the Uncanny X-Men series that's running right now in issues 1 through 4, it is about the minor characters kind of learning what it is to be mutants and having these kind of idolized X-Men characters who show up every once in a while. And it's cool because this allows the writers to play with the main mutants of the world in a new and different way. So to kind of go into what I was talking about earlier is that when a mutant shows up that you know by name, like Legion shows up in like issue like 2 or 3, and it's a huge fucking deal that Legion has shown up.
Yeah. Because he's, all 200 of the mutants.
Right, exactly. And so the storyline is you have this character, Nathaniel, or X-Man, right? And he has decided that he is going to try and find a new way to bring peace to mutant kind and bring peace around the world between humans and mutants.
Dude, there are 200 of them. They could have one in a small town all over the world and no one will ever give a fuck.
Right.
Nobody will give a shit about mutants because there's literally 200 of them.
Right.
They can just be the thing that lives in the woods.
But except for the fact that we have these groups like the Purifiers who are now actively hunting mutants because there is such a limited number of them. They see the end in sight. It is the end game for them. So X-Man kind of comes in and says, all right, how do we like broker peace between around the world between mutants and humans? And we don't know the full story yet. We haven't gotten into his like big machinations or anything. But what we've gotten is this story where he apparently, and I shit you not, has managed to kidnap both Apocalypse and Kitty Pryde. We do not know the reason that he's kidnapped them, but he's picking their brain, trying to like find a solution to the mutant human problem. So,
which is kind of like, why would you ask Juggernaut why? Like, what the answer is? His answer is going to be smash it.
Right, no, but this is
that's
Apocalypse.
His only answer.
Right, but this is Apocalypse, the guy who spent centuries trying to...
I thought you said Juggernaut.
No,
okay, yeah, no,
Apocalypse
totally makes sense. Apocalypse is like, well, we need to destroy all humans.
Right.
And Key's me like, let's not all destroy all humans. Let's hang out and chill. It'd be a good debate.
Right.
I thought you said, for some reason, I thought you said Juggernaut.
No.
And I was like, okay, his answer to literally everything is going to be smash it. You can't really control him either.
No, that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
So
I was completely off on what we were
in this storyline. What we've gotten is the Horseman of Salvation has just shown up. So the Apocalypse always has his like 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. Nate Gray has the 4 Horsemen of Salvation. And one of them is Magneto. I shit you not, it is a giant bearded, like old man, like looks like I was hanging out with Jesus Magneto, is one of these Horsemen of Salvation trying to bring peace and prosperity to the world. Now here's the kicker. Here's the news item for the week, now that I've set the stage for you. In the upcoming issue of Uncanny X-Men, Apocalypse gives Nate Gray a suggestion, and Nate Gray says, that's a good idea. First off, let's just think about that statement.
It's never a good idea.
Right?
It came from Apocalypse. It's never a good idea.
So Apocalypse's idea to bring peace
to kill all humans?
to the world, not just between humans and mutants. And they do this, by the way. This is an upcoming issue. This is like the first 10 pages, essentially.
Okay.
Apocalypse says, destroy all religions.
Okay, well, he's right.
And just like the 198, just like Wanda did or during House of M, no more religions, and all of the big churches, synagogues, everything gets blown up.
Okay, I don't say blow them up. Like, don't physically blow them up. Like, that's a horrible... There's people inside of them. That would cause even more wars.
Right.
But, like, mass forgetting, like, just everybody was instantly like, oh, that's not a thing we do anymore. Mm-hmm. Would actually bring peace to, like, all of humanity. I mean, seriously, no. Like, historically, we know this. Like, the world would be at a further along pace than what it would be right now, had we not had the fucking like Spanish Inquisition.
That's true.
Like, literally pushed us back into the Dark Ages in science.
But X-Men gives us this ability to explore these power sets that a lot of other characters can't. Right? Like when you read an Iron Man, you're not looking at an Iron Man who is looking to go to like nuclear war with everybody. He's usually kind of fighting Monster of the Week or, certain other enemy teams that are not the Avengers, stuff like that. Here, Omega level mutants are given that designation because they can literally change the landscape of the world just by their mere presence. And now you have Nate Gray being told, destroy all religions. And he's like, there we go, snap my fingers, destroy all religions, let's see what happens. It's a really interesting concept, and it's one that they've actually said will have repercussions throughout the Marvel Universe, even if you don't see them directly.
I think it's really interesting, actually, and it makes me kind of want to read that part of the X-Men story.
Yeah.
Because honestly, most of the time, the actual X-Men, the hanging out, the fucking castle and all of that is just very boring. I don't find it interesting.
Yeah,
this part totally sounds interesting.
Yeah, this is a very fascinating and bold direction, and I'm hoping that they stick to their guns and really commit to this storyline. It could be a very dark storyline, but it could be one that really puts a light on who we are as human beings and the things that we value and the things that we worship in our day-to-day life. So it could go very dark, and I really hope they embrace that a little bit. It deserves to have a darker storyline to it, I think.
Yeah.
All right, that's everything that we have for comic book news this week. When we come back, we'll be going to level 2 video game news.
That person's already gone, so it doesn't fucking matter.
I hate PewDiePie. He's a piece of shit.
I don't know. Is he one of the people that screams at fucking scary games?
Yes, he is.
Oh, then go fuck himself. There's like 20 of those, and they're all fucking stupid.
Yeah, he was probably one of the PewDiePie. Literally, it's a religion for people to go online and ask other streamers, like, are you subscribed to PewDiePie? Please subscribe to PewDiePie. Did you hear about the printer incident recently? I think he was the one where, like, a hacker went in and like, found, like, a bunch of open printers all over the U.S. and made them all spit out, like, subscribe to PewDiePie, like, because they're on an open network and shit. It's a horrible fucking thing.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
I know. Let's go into video games.
You're literally adding more reasons why I don't like this fucking place.
I know.
Humanity's stupid. That was, again, Apocalypse's first answer was correct. If you just get rid of humanity, everybody's at peace.
There you go. Done. All right. Let's talk about fun things.
And I have no idea why the fuck I thought you said Juggernaut.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, it was a much more weird comic book in my head. I was like, okay, why the fuck?
Yeah, why would you ever listen to Juggernaut?
Why would you steal Juggernaut? I mean, obviously you can't really contain him because that's like impossible.
But so's Apocalypse.
Yeah, but again, I didn't realize that you said Apocalypse. You said Juggernaut, so I was like, okay, Kitty Pryde and Juggernaut are trapped, and they can both escape from anywhere they want.
Yeah,
because he can just start moving and never stop.
Yep,
and she can literally just go through the fucking wall.
Yeah, it's weird.
But he's not actually there.
I'm intrigued.
That's my weird story that exists in my head now, apparently. Level 2, video game news.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. Okay, so this week obviously was the Video Game Awards, and we have a lot to talk about in terms of the content of the Video Game Awards.
But we'll get to that
later on in the show. But there are a few key points, a couple fun things that we can kind of pull out into video game news this week, because that's where a lot of the news came from, to be honest. And the first one...
Because everything was announced there.
So near and dear to my heart. Let me tell you, if you ever said, I found a game that will make you want to leave the Video Game Awards that you're enjoying watching right now and go down and buy a video game console, it's going to be Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3.
Yeah, that was, and I did not even, I thought that maybe we'd get a Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3.
Yeah.
I thought it would be for every console.
Yeah. So for those of you unfamiliar with Marvel Ultimate Alliance, because I realize it's been like 10 years since that series came out.
Yeah. It was at the end of the 360, I think was when the last one came out.
So Marvel Ultimate Alliance was a series that was in a long line of essentially Diablo-esque games.
Dungeon crawlers.
Yeah, they were dungeon crawlers. You would pick a hero, you'd get XP for the hero, you'd take them through various stages. The last one they made was actually about the original Civil War story.
Yeah.
And so it was a game that we all loved.
Yeah, it started out as the same game company that made the Ultimate Alliance made the X-Men,
like X-Men Legends or something like that.
Yeah, and there was 2 of those, and then they made 2 of the Ultimate Alliance games, and now a third. I believe it's still the same studio. Yeah.
So it's exclusively on the Nintendo Switch.
That was my next point. This is a Switch exclusive.
Yeah.
And that makes me very upset.
Yeah.
Because I did not play the first 2 on a Switch
or
a Nintendo. I played them on an Xbox. Why am I not playing this one on an Xbox?
Because Nintendo has a lot of money.
Yes, and that is the only way. This is now becoming exclusive.
Yeah.
It's very irritating to me.
I don't think that it's just a case of it was just an exclusive. I think that there was some serious thought put into this.
No, there definitely was, because all right, so this game's gonna come out for like $60, right?
Sure.
And if you asked for a game that looks that kind of honestly crappy to come out on a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox, people wouldn't want to pay $60 for it.
People pay for Diablo.
people do for Diablo. Diablo has a shitload of additional content to it and massive replayability.
And this is a cult following game. I understand that. But what I mean is the question that you kind of have to ask yourself at that point is, was the game already in development and then they shopped it around to different people and Nintendo said, you know, if you just make it exclusive, I'll just give you a shitload of money? Or did Nintendo look at some of the cult favorites of the past? You know, I'm kind of siding on the idea that this game was being shopped around. Because we saw the re-release, in air quotes, of Marvel Ultimate Alliance and Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2 in the last year and a half.
Yeah, they came out on everything except for the Switch, because Switch didn't exist at that point, I believe. And they came, so it was PlayStation, Xbox, and I think even PC.
And we've said several times on this show, when you see re-releases of this kind of game, expect that it's usually a market.
Yeah, and I think they saw that re-release, and it didn't do well overall, the up-res and everything, to kind of justify making 3 on there. So they're like, well, the Switch is selling really fucking great right now, so why don't we just make it a Switch exclusive, because people are already buying Switches like fucking hotcakes.
Yep.
And again, nobody buys hotcakes like hotcakes. Like nobody fucking does that. When was the last time you bought a hotcake? You never fucking have.
No, it's true. So the really cool thing about this is that it's really latching on to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Whereas like the second one was really kind of about Civil War and what was going on in the comics at the time. This one is really basing itself around not necessarily the events of the movie, but the major characters in the movie. So it's about Thanos and the Black Order. We saw the Guardians of the Galaxy show up. Obviously, the Avengers were there. There's going to be other characters that are added because Marvel Ultimate Alliance is just a game that just is able to shove those things in. Whether or not they'll have Deadpool, like that'll be interesting to see.
Deadpool was in the
second one.
He was also in the X-Men games.
Oh yeah. Sure.
So, because he had my favorite line, "I'm the best at whatever his Wolverine does."
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see where the rights issues fall on that. But seriously, if you've not played the Ultimate Alliance games, they're cheap, man. Like, go on Steam, go on Xbox. They're backwards compatible, so you just buy the older versions if you want to.
Yeah, no, they're stupid fun. They're stupid fun. They're way too... And they give you... They have these...
you know what they're really great
question parts. Like the trivia thing. For the
trivia was awesome.
From Marvel history. It's really cool.
But they're really great. Sit down with your friends on the couch and drink and play a video game.
That's how we played them.
Like that's exactly
literally how we played the X-Men ones and the fucking.
Yeah, I was just like, get drunk and 4-player.
I say the Marvel ones because it's the full universe, but so it was X-Men and Marvel ones. That's literally how we played all 4 of those games. Was getting drunk on the couch, and eating a bunch of fucking Burger King cheeseburgers.
Yeah, exactly.
Every time we always had Burger King cheeseburgers.
All right, so we're going to move on from Ultimate Alliance, even though I don't want to, but I just can't wait till it comes out. Over to Monster Hunter World for a little bit. So today was big news. Like, literally, this news came out while I was working on the news.
So I'm confused by this news because I only read, like, a couple of headlines and, like, a paragraph.
Yes. So I
don't understand why. So I want to say what the news is.
Okay.
Monster Hunter World announced a new expansion.
Yes,
that's
correct.
Coming in a year.
No, it's coming in 2019.
I thought it said in like fall/winter of 2019.
We don't. I don't see fall 2019.
So fall 2019.
Yes.
So a year from now, this content will be out.
Right.
That's really early to announce this shit.
It is, but at the same time, there was other things that they announced alongside it, which were essentially, we have a bunch of new content that's coming to the platform that's all eventually leading up to this.
Okay, see, this is the part that I was confused on, because all the headlines were like, there's a new Monster Hunter expansion.
So I watched
immediately went, but why do you care about something that's going to happen in a year from now?
Right. So it's kind of the way that they announce it is the way that Final Fantasy does their announcements for Final Fantasy 14.
Okay.
Like they'll do the fan festivals for Final Fantasy, and what they'll do is they'll say, here's our expansion that's coming out in a year. Here's the new classes. Here's the new content that's coming alongside that. However, that's coming down the road. Here's our roadmap that gets us there. And so
here's all the little small events that will take place every couple of weeks that will
and you're thinking
add
yourself,
something to the world.
Right. And you're thinking to yourself, well, it's Monster Hunter. You can only hunt so many monsters. So what they've done
they've got a couple hundred.
Yeah, they've got a couple hundred, and then they're putting in the new upgraded versions of a lot of those monsters. We're getting to the next tier set, essentially, for gear for Monster Hunter, which is a thing, by the way, just in case you don't play Monster Hunter, there are tier sets for gear. And the biggest announcement that came out of the whole, like, these are new monsters coming, blah, 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 like, this is what to look forward to. Obviously, we're all super hyped for the expansion, and I'm so angry that Hector's not here this week, because a there's a lot of events that happen within the world of Monster Hunter. Like there's a Final Fantasy 14 event.
Yeah, they had that crossover. They had a Halloween event.
They had a Devil May Cry event. They had a Horizon Zero Dawn event.
They have they're just adding events for other games to show up in their game.
There's a Street Fighter event that's in there. Like,
it literally makes no sense to me whatsoever why these things exist within this other game's universe. But sure.
If it's a Monster Hunter game and the game's premise is hunting monsters, then who else to fucking show up in the world of Monster Hunter than Geralt of Riviera?
He's definitely a monster hunter.
Yeah, and he's going to be showing up. They're going to be doing a special event that's a crossover with The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. You have the voice actor for Geralt there, and he literally shows up and he's like, I hunt monsters. I guess that's why I'm here. I also hate fucking portals, and that's how I ended up here. And it's also
he's not very good with portals.
And as far as we could tell, you actually play as him during the event, which is a bit different. Usually you play as your custom monster hunter, but he's like, he actually says something in the dialogue like, "Step aside, hunter. I'm going to take care of this." So that kind of leads us to believe that you're going to be playing him during these scenarios.
That would be fun. I'm a little bit confused on how it's going to take him like 20 minutes to kill a monster, and whereas he normally would kill it in like 5 seconds.
Right, exactly.
Like, what is he not going to be good at it? Did he forget?
Well, I mean, these are monsters that he doesn't have any knowledge of.
True.
So that's different.
Yeah, because he has a lot of lore knowledge inside the Witcher universe.
I think that with the addition of Geralt into Monster Hunter world, I will have officially played him in more video games that are not The Witcher than the Witcher series, because I've only played the first Witcher game.
Yeah, The Witcher, again, this is something that I've just been waiting to sit down and play 3 at some point.
So Hector was so sweet and so nice and gave us a Steam Link for the apartment.
Yeah.
And so now we have one in the living room, and I'm like, you know what? Now I might get The Witcher. Because I'll buy it on Steam. I can play an up-res version of The Witcher, but I can do it from our fucking couch.
That is true.
Like with a fucking controller and just call it a day.
That would be way more enjoyable. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I don't want to play it on PC. I'm just like, I don't want to sit at my computer.
That's the thing, right? Like, I don't have a DX Racer chair. If you want to give us one, you can donate to the show at
they're not really that
surlynerd.com.
There's a donate button. There's a donate button on twitch.tv/surlynerd live Monday at 7:30.
And if I got something really comfortable like a DX Racer chair, then I would, and we are not sponsored by
the DX Racer chairs really aren't that comfortable.
Right.
There are much more comfortable office chairs out there. They just
in the time that I've spent in one, I found it very
okay. So I didn't really like the racing chair thing. Yeah. Like the office chair that I have is an office chair, way more comfortable for extended hours of sitting on your ass.
Yeah, the concept is we have really crappy office chairs here in the apartment.
Yes,
and
this is made by IKEA.
If I got something
like
nicer,
$40,
right? If I got something nicer, like I'd be totally down for playing 40 hours of The Witcher. I mean, I played like 20 hours of Overwatch this weekend, and my back is like, fuck you, dude. So now that we have a Steam Link, maybe I can jump in and do some Witcher stuff. But this is really cool. Like, I feel like now you can just put Geralt in anything. I feel like tomorrow he's going to show up in Persona for some reason, or like Smash Brothers, or like Mario Party. He's just going to show up wherever he wants to at this point. And you know what? This is exactly...
No, I don't want him to show up in fucking Persona because he's just going to be yelling his name. Geralt! Why? No, don't do that. Don't fucking do that. No, bad idea. But don't encourage them.
I'm excited for this. This is going to be pretty awesome. I love the fact that Monster Hunter World people are just so willing to do shit like this. Like other game companies, like when a crossover happens, like the announcement of Persona coming to Super Smash Brothers during the Video Game Awards was like, Persona's showing up there. But at this point,
you lost your shit during that.
I absolutely did.
Like you were like, oh my god, I need to go get a Switch right now. It's happening. It's happening.
Sure, I get that. But I feel like at this point, Geralt could show up in like any video game, and I just wouldn't be surprised. Like you'd just be playing like that Burger King game from the 360, and he would show up in it, Sneak King, and and he would just show up in it, and you're just like, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I think we need to remind people that every now and then
Sneak King exists.
Yes, that existed, and then Doritos made a racing side-scrolling game thing that was actually kind of fun to play. Like every now and then you get these weird free games like on Xbox, and it's like they're like, oh yeah, here's an advertisement for a game brought to you by Doritos, and you're like, what the fuck is this?
Tony, we know people that have been achievement hunters inside of Sneak King. They wanted to get every achievement inside of Sneak King.
Oh, gross! No, bad.
And we know that they're listening to the show right now.
I know they are.
All right, let's move on to our last bit of video game news, and I think this was one of the more fascinating things to come out of the Video Game Awards. And that was a big old bit by Phil Spencer of Xbox, obviously. Mm-hmm. And this goes to our big old theories about Xbox that we've had for a while now, and they keep confirming it more and more every week. And I know that we just keep saying that every week, but it's because Microsoft is just really just repeating what we've been saying on the air for like the last year. That is, they want the Xbox Game Pass on every device.
Yes.
And
every device.
They put out a big old video about it. They said streaming is the future. Doing rendering in the cloud is the future. Being able to play an Xbox game on your phone on the go is the way of the future, and that's what we want to be bringing to the table. Microsoft is not playing the same game that Nintendo and Sony are anymore.
No, they are playing the fuck you, we are going to be on your iPhone.
Right.
We are going to be on your Android phone. We are going to be... Oh, Windows phones don't exist anymore. We are going to be on your iPad.
Right.
We will be on your... no one buys a fucking Kindle anymore
They want to be the platform of choice.
Yeah, no, they want to be everywhere.
And we have been... Like, I hate to be that guy, but we've been telling you this for over a couple of years. When we started seeing this rise of them doing all this backwards compatibility, they weren't doing it to be cute and just give you backwards compatibility.
The moment they started hinting at Game Pass, and we're like, you know what they're doing. They're adding all these backwards compatibility games. They're giving you a monthly just pass to just play whatever game you fucking want.
Yep.
And they're going towards streaming. What the fuck? Why are people not seeing the future in this?
Right.
Why are we the only ones?
I don't know.
Why? This is driving me fucking crazy.
Either that or they just listen to our podcast and they're like, these are all good ideas.
Yeah.
You should take these ideas. Why don't you just hire us, guys? We will give you all the ideas.
I got some really great ideas for Halo. Just throwing it out there.
Anything's better than what they've been doing. And we will be talking about Halo a little bit later on. But the takeaway from this is that just realize that what Microsoft is doing with Game Pass, literally one of the things they said during this video presentation was a line out of, I think it was Phil Spencer's mouth that said, what would it be like to play Halo on the PC? What would it like to be like play Halo on your phone on the go? And it was like, there it is.
Yeah.
That's what
unfortunately, at this moment, what has been announced regarding Halo for coming to PC is that it will, even though it's coming to the Halo Master Chief Collection and 5 is all part of Game Pass.
Yeah.
If you get the PC version, those games will not be part of it as of right now.
As of right now. I guarantee you, when it's time
to release the new system. By the way, every Halo game available right now.
But yeah, more specifically, when they launch Game Pass as a platform, which it is a platform technically, but I mean as an expansive platform. A platform for your phone, for your iPad, for your toaster. When that announcement happens, that's when they are dropping this. They're not saying...
no, they're not going to... Why the fuck would they blow their load right now?
Right, exactly. That's exactly what they're doing. They're sitting there going, you're not getting to get Halo. You're going to have to buy the physical copy of Halo. Gotta buy it. Because they're waiting for that moment when Xbox Game Pass comes to your toaster. They say, all right, guys, guess what? As of today, now that our new platform is out, we'll start with the Master Chief Collection. Master Chief Collection is now playable on Xbox Game Pass. Pay $10 a month.
It's already on Game Pass. It's the PC part.
Right, that's what I'm saying. We have now unlocked it for that.
Now it'll be available on PC. It'll be available on your phone. You can play fucking Halo 5 Guardians on your phone right now, or on your PC right now, and multiplayer works. So go right ahead and play. Arguably one of the best first-person shooters for multiplayer. Still,
oh, absolutely.
Like Halo 5 is. There's a reason why it's in the competitive list and gaining as much money as it does right now. Because for a console, it is the best without having to earn the credits in the game to unlock the weapons to do the thing. It's literally, here's the gun, go shoot your friends.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why it still succeeds. That formula, they didn't change that.
Yeah.
Really. They added the ability to unlock variants of guns, but they're still the same fucking guns.
Yeah. But I'm telling you right now, this is what you need to be.
That was an aside.
Be expecting this, and be expecting this really soon. In fact, if I had to wager, and I was going to say 2020, and the reason I say that is that what Microsoft does to just knock it out of the park when they come into E3 that year is they say, all right, here's our new console. Isn't it pretty? Isn't it cool? You can buy it if you want. But also, here's what our new platform is. Literally a platform. We are selling you a piece of hardware to run our platform. If you don't have a high-end PC to run what you need, buy our Xbox.
Here for $150 or $200 is the stream version where you just buy this and you can stream all this shit directly to it and it'll look just as good as it does on PC.
Yep. We know this is where Microsoft is headed. Everybody just needs to be
I've been saying this for ages. Whenever Microsoft came out with the Xbox Live addition to Windows, where you could the Xbox Store was in there, whenever you could start connecting all that your Xbox Live profiles, and then they started at the same time they released the new code for creating the games. WPA. I can't remember the extension that's for, and it's the how you design games for Windows using the Windows environment.
Yeah.
And a lot of people that were game designers were kind of complaining. So like, well, it locks things with certain frame rates. It has to. It's limited on the amount of hardware. And they're like, yeah. And it's like, you not see what they're doing?
Yeah.
People not see this? This was, I think, 6 years ago. I was going, they are creating a platform that where any game that is created for Windows will play anywhere that this system works on. They're creating a universal gaming system.
Yeah.
And I've been saying this for fucking years, and no one's been listening. It's been driving me fucking mad.
I know.
Like, I can't wait for 2020 to happen, and this will fucking come out, and everybody will fucking be talking about it and be like, I just want to say I fucking told you so. Can it just happen so I can say it already?
We're almost there, Tony.
It's driving me fucking crazy.
All right, that's everything we have for video game news this week. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going into level 3, entertainment news. All right, put us on break for a minute because I'm going to grab a smoke.
Okay. I'm literally going to put us into break because I don't feel like...
Yeah, put us on break.
I don't know if the video plays or not, so we'll see. Oh, it does. Level 3, entertainment news.
Hey, Adventurers, welcome back to the show. All right, so we've been talking for weeks and weeks and weeks about how excited we are for the Twilight Zone reboot. And at this point, we just want the damn thing to come out.
Yeah, like,
because we're so excited about it.
Can we just have it already? Like, I just need that.
Right, and so CBS is working on that, obviously, with Jordan Peele. Now, we did hear this week that another Rod Serling anthology series is going to be getting rebooted. And I always get nervous when I hear these words. I was nervous about it when I heard it with Twilight Zone. But Sci-Fi is actually going to be remaking one of my favorite series that I watched when I was a kid, and that's Night Gallery.
I never really got into Night Gallery, honestly.
It's not for everybody. I don't think the quality is as good as Twilight Zone.
I mean, dude, I watched Poltergeist: The Legacy.
That's true. So, I mean, the bar is pretty low at that point.
Yeah, like I was watching the worst of this.
And I watched Tales from the Dark Side, which was good, but it doesn't really hold up. Let's just say that.
I think the great thing about childhood memories is that they are childhood memories.
Yeah.
When you try to go back and relive them and re-experience that thing, you're not gonna have a good time.
Tales from the Dark Side, the movie still holds up. I don't know if the TV series really does as well.
Well, films generally do a little bit better production-wise, especially in the 80s and 90s, compared to their TV counterparts. It's
right. So for those of you in the audience that are unfamiliar with Night Gallery, let's kind of catch you up a little bit. It was a 1969 series. It was morality tales, just like Twilight Zone was. It was introed by Rod Serling and everyone, except for the way that it worked is instead of him just doing a voiceover narration for it, and you may have seen this parody in The Simpsons if you ever watch like The Simpsons Halloween specials. Rod Serling comes out in an art gallery, and there's always a painting behind him.
Yeah, they did this. I can't remember which Treehouse of Horrors. One of the
early ones.
But it's definitely in one of the earlier Simpsons Treehouse of Horrors.
Yeah. And so he comes out and he's got paintings behind him and he stops in front of a specific painting and he kind of describes what the painting is. And then the episode itself is about what he just described, essentially.
Okay.
And again, it's Rod Serling. If you like Twilight Zone and you want a little bit more of that, I always feel like Night Gallery is good to go. It's something worth going back to because it's an important piece of history. Again, it wasn't as popular, obviously, as the Twilight Zone, but I still feel like it really holds up. It still has some very interesting stories that are contained within it. And I'm hoping what Sci-Fi is going to do with this is they're going to do kind of what they're doing with the Twilight Zone reboot, is take the best ones, maybe redo those, but also open this up.
Let's add some new shit.
Let's get a whole bunch of new stuff.
Put some new stank on it.
Exactly. And we've got the creators and executive producers that have worked on things like Teen Wolf and Midnight Texas. These are some of the...
I tried Midnight Texas, and I really couldn't get into it.
I think I wanted to try it because it wasn't that part of the team that worked on like True Blood, I think.
It's literally... so this is from the same creator of True Blood. It's not a continuation at all. It is a separate universe, separate story. Yeah. But this is done on.
So Alan Ball is not involved with this. Who is the one who worked on?
No, it's not Alan Ball, but it's Charlene Harris is the actual creator of Sookie Stackhouse, the Southern vampire novel.
No. What I'm saying is the people that are going to be working on this are people that worked on those productions. That were executive producers on those. But
Alan Ball, who was the basically creator,
the showrunner
of
Midnight Texas.
No, not Midnight Texas.
Okay.
Of
True Blood.
True Blood.
Yeah.
Is not involved.
Right, but the other executive producers and things that have worked.
Because if Alan Ball was doing this, the internet would be flipping the fuck out of it.
Yes, they would. And I get it because Twilight Zone is so popular. Saying you're redoing like Night Gallery, people are just like, okay, cool, but we also just got all this really fun Twilight Zone reboot announcement. I don't know. Again, this is a series that's very near and dear to my heart, and I'm really hoping that they do it well, if not better than what's going on with the Twilight Zone, because it is such a kind of underappreciated Rod Serling gem in my eyes. So fingers crossed at that point. Let's go ahead and move on to something that Tony is super hyped for, but unfortunately this news does not bode well.
I mean, most of the things I like are just end in flames and hellfire.
So you've been pretty excited about this Showtime Halo series.
Yeah, the thing that was announced way before it should have been, that we've gotten recently some more information about, that it is coming to light, that it is being done that it will follow Master Chief and expand on the story surrounding him in that timeline.
Yeah. So what we found out is that Rupert Watt, who worked on Rise of the Planet of the Apes, originally he was on board to direct multiple episodes. He was the executive producer. He was basically handling a lot of the project, essentially.
Yeah.
As of this week, due to other commitments, and basically he did come out very candidly about this and say there's a huge time commitment involved with making this project.
Oh, dude, with any series,
yeah,
you are investing a year and a half of your life to make 3 to 6 months of content.
Yeah. And basically he's going to be pulling out. So our executive producer and the guy who's directing multiple episodes is leaving the project.
Why isn't he like our couch?
I don't know.
Don't pull out, man.
Don't pull out.
Don't pull
He
out.
just does not pull out. And the things that were said about this were not negative, by the way.
Yeah.
This wasn't a matter of like, oh, this project is fucked up and I'm leaving it or anything along those lines. He really did come out and say, like, I have a bunch of other projects I'm working on. I did not understand the time investment it was going to make something beautiful and as rich as the world of Halo.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, it's that universe is very already very large and encompassing, and to add anything to that requires a lot of work because you have to find out where you can tell stories around things that already are known, existing timelines.
Yeah. And of course he's already been working on some of it. But he's, you know, obviously pulling out now, and they're getting somebody else put in his place kind of midway through this whole production run. And he said that, like, you know, I look forward to watching it as a fan, but understand that, like, the people that are working on this don't take my leaving as a negative sign for where the status of the show is. It's just the people who are going to come in and take care of this thing, they're going to baby it. They're going to baby it more than I could.
Yeah, he just doesn't have the time to do it. And to me, it's a little bit shitty that he signed on for a project that I guess he didn't even do enough research on his own or have it explained to him that this was going to be that kind of investment. I guess since I don't know him personally at all, I don't really know his body of work. It's more of like, dude, how did you not did you not fucking do a Wikipedia like search on this?
Yeah,
like it's a giant fucking entry, dude. Like it's not going to be I'll just make up whatever I want.
Well, it wasn't because the show itself was. Let me break this down because when he opened up about it this week, the thing that he specifically cited was because the production demands of this series are enormous, and this is his words, and we've had to add time to the schedule in order to do it right. That has created a conflict with my other projects that I had in the back burn.
I can see that happening too. Again, it's a huge undertaking because this is going to be Microsoft's first real venture into
he didn't just like walk in and say like this is too tough and walked out. It's that he is somebody who produces multiple projects at a time because he is fairly famous. Said this is the time that I have allotted to the project.
Okay, so this isn't like for instance, we had let's take Walking Dead for example.
Sure,
he's not being forced out because of creative differences.
Right,
he's not with the case of. God damn it. Neil Gaiman's the executive producer on it.
American Gods.
American Gods, where the showrunners is like, I just don't feel, I'm just not, like, it just kind of came down to a creative thing. It was like, I want to do one thing, they want to do another. I don't have the time commitment to do what they want me to do.
Right.
I want to do it this way.
Yeah, it is not a conflict of interest. It's that him as a professional allotted himself a certain amount of time. They said, yes, we will give you that amount of time to work in it. Okay. And as production has ramped up.
I'm totally okay with that they are extending the production longer, and he didn't necessarily sign on for 2 years. He signed on for a year and a half.
Right.
So somebody else has to come in and finish it. And at this point, it's still in the early phases. This is still we're creating this phase.
Right.
We're not going to be, again, 2020 at E3 is going to be a very interesting fucking time when they're like, by the way, the first episode's available right now.
Yeah.
That I'm kind of expecting that's when they're actually going to show it off. They're going to be like, by the way, here you go.
But I think it did kind of warm my heart a little bit to read some of his quotes because a lot of the, obviously when you go and read a press headline, a lot of them are meant to grab your attention. They're like, oh no, the executive producers just walked off the show, blah, blah, blah. But really when you get down to the meat of it, and this is the reason I read several different articles over the same topic before I put things into the news because I want to make sure that we maintain accuracy about this. He adores this project. He is so excited to see this project happen. He's like, I can't wait. I can't wait to see, based on the stuff that I've worked on and who's going to be taking it over. It's going to be so cool. Like,
he knows more shit than everybody else does.
Right, yeah. He's like,
so if he's sitting there going like, no, guys, seriously, like, I'm pissed that I have to leave because I have to go do this project instead because I already signed a contract.
Yeah.
That, to me, is totally acceptable. That is I signed a contract that says, by this date, I have to start working on this other thing.
Yeah.
And this one got extended and didn't state in my contract that I had to stick around for it, which is why I allowed myself to go do this other thing, and I have to leave now. Sorry, but I do know what they're doing instead, and it's fucking awesome, and I wish I could stick around for it.
He wasn't allowed he wasn't allowed to talk a lot about the project, obviously. He's got like a million NDAs. He did say that, obviously, it is a news story, but he says we are being incredibly respectful of the canon and working with Microsoft 343 to make sure that we don't violate any of that.
Yeah, no, there's been some retcons in the Halo universe, a few just minor things we're not going to go into right now because it'll just make me angry. Yeah. But I think that they have to take that into consideration. They have to say, what are most of the retcons in the Halo universe are things that the fans went, yeah, no, that totally makes more sense. That's good. We're good with these things. Like, it's Star Wars, the fucking first Star Wars, like Luke and Leia kiss.
Yeah. And
then the next one, they're brother and sister. We just kind of retcon that out of existence. Right. We just immediately go like, that wasn't weird and awkward at all because they just didn't know, and it's fine.
What's interesting is that they've spent more time retconning Boba Fett back into the story of Star Wars than they have even touching on the subject of the kiss. So just that happened, and we're just gonna accept the fact that it happened.
Yeah, it's just a thing. We're just gonna ignore it. Just accept that it's over there. It's like,
at this point though, after watching Game of Thrones, I'm like, yeah, they didn't even know they were siblings, so fuck it, that's fine.
Yeah, it's not near as bad as Game of Thrones.
It's not near as bad as what we've been going down this road.
I've been spending 7 years watching a brother and sister fuck each other. I think
in graphic detail on TV.
They know it. I think it's okay.
Right. Like, oh, you kissed your sister on accident. That happened.
Some families do that, though. Some families are mouth kissers.
It's true.
And if you're one of those families, you should seek professional help.
Do you mouth kiss your dog?
No. I don't let her kiss me at all. I don't like it. I think it's weird.
What a mean parent you are.
No, I don't fucking like it. I don't want fucking wet slobber. I hate it. Because they always I hate hand licking. Don't fucking lick my hands. Oh, I do things with those. I want them in your fucking mouth.
Is that what you say on a first date with a girl, by the way? You're just like, don't lick my hands.
Yeah.
No.
Dude, you got to, every first date starts with hard limits.
Yeah, hard limits. What are your hard limits? Don't lick my hands.
Don't lick my hands.
Yeah.
And I don't want to poop on you. Like, that's
there you go. All right, just kind of wrap this whole thing up for Halo. There, again, I've said several times, there's many statements that he's made that have made me look towards the future of this series that's coming out. One of the last things that the creator that was working on this project said, it's a very different genre. It's futuristic. It's kind of space-based science fiction. It's not fantasy. He said that it took us a long time to get the script down, but when we did, we felt like we had something that was really interesting and something like that it felt belonged on Showtime in terms of its character depth, and I really feel like it's going to be a huge show.
Showtime's been knocking out some shit recently, and they need to. It has to be on par. It has to be up there. You're doing Microsoft's Halo universe justice and adult programming on a premium channel justice.
Right.
Like that's a lot to live up to.
Right.
And
how long until he fucks an AI? Like half an episode?
First off, you can't because they're a holographic representation and holograms have no physical form aside from the hardware, and you can fuck a computer as much as you want. It's just not gonna be good for anybody, really.
Everybody's gonna have a bad time. Yeah, no, I just think that's a really interesting statement when he talks about wanting to be on Showtime in terms of character depth and how big the show is going to be. I mean, obviously, we're excited for the Halo show. If they really are putting this much time, effort, and love into it, I think that it really can be something great. And they do need to take their time with it. What are they competing against? Nothing. What is the biggest sci-fi show out there right now that you can think of?
Stranger Things.
Right. Is it about a dude and a derelict
it's
alien
still a sci-fi universe, but it's not an alien sci-fi story. It's a monsters living in a small town sci-fi. Very different type of sci-fi story.
Right.
No, I mean, think about it. Like most of the science fiction we have going on right now, Black Mirror, things like that, are very much...
They're grounded.
Yeah, they're grounded. Look at what we've been talking about so far in the entertainment section with the Night Gallery. Mm-hmm. Grounded in our world, in our reality-ish. And
yeah, even Twilight Zone was very much grounded in our reality.
Yeah, it expands on it a little bit. Outer Limits, bit more alien stuff.
Sure.
But
that was its whole thing.
We don't have a Game of Thrones in space, which is what you could go down the roads within the Halo universe. You could. I don't want you to do that. Yeah. I want some awesome space battles.
What's the name
more than space political intrigue?
What's the name of the person? I'm sorry, I'm going to get sidetracked here for a second. What's the name of the high-ranking Marine officer that always ends up hanging out with a grunt? Isn't it? He hangs up with a grunt at the end of. It's like the joke ending of every Halo is like whatever he's doing with like a grunt or a elite trooper or whatever.
You're talking about the dude that chews on a cigar or whatever?
Yeah, it's him.
Yeah, I can't remember his
There's
name
always
right
the
now.
fun ending where it's like him hanging out with an alien at the end of it. And he's
it's not really an ending. It's a scene. It's one of the scene things to the side.
Okay.
Like I can't remember.
I think that should be an important story. This moment is just like that particular character just hanging out with an alien randomly and be like, yeah, well, I guess we survived that.
I don't know if he survived, depending on where they're at in the story.
Okay, so let's really.
I can't tell you if he is actually alive or not.
Really briefly to kind of wrap up entertainment news for the week. One of the main actors for the Conjuring films, Patrick Wilson, just got done closing out doing Annabelle 3, and he's really excited about it. Obviously, he's on his kind of press tour and talking about how it's going to be an awesome movie. If you like the previous Annabelle film, you're going to really like this one as much, if not more.
Annabelle, the first Annabelle movie, Annabelle, not Creation. Was it Creation was the first one?
I think Creation's the second one.
Okay, the second one, good. First one, not so good. The first one gets better after you watch the second one. Right. Oddly enough, when you finish the second movie, you go, "Oh fuck, that made the first one so much cooler."
Yeah.
And then this because of where those led and where we're at in the story of the Conjuring universe, I just want to fucking know more.
Right. So what he was able to divulge, obviously, he said, we just finished Annabelle 3, which is really cool. It's really always nice to dip our toes into the franchise. He said, as kind of an addition to that, I can't talk too much about it, but The Conjuring 3 will be different than anything that we've seen so far, which is a lot of fun.
Okay. I mean, I really wish that the Conjuring films would have like a Conjuring film where they actually do tell everyone that it is entirely bullshit, that the Amityville Horror was a giant made-up hoax.
Except for the fact their characters are based on people that believe
I know. They're people that believe in it, but they're also the people that literally made a hoax happen.
I just like the idea that when he talks about The Conjuring 3, and he uses that kind of phrase, it's unlike anything we've seen before, I don't think he's referencing something like, oh, it's going to be just a new monster. Mm-hmm. I feel like that when you talk about something like that, you're talking about the fact that you're going to try and direct the series in a different way. If nothing, we've always said that, yes, the not Conjuring films are okay at best for the most part.
Yeah, no,
but the Conjuring
second
films
Annabelle
themselves,
movie, way better. The Conjuring movie's great.
Yeah.
Second Annabelle movie, great. The first Annabelle and the Nun,
questionable.
Yeah.
But I think that's what The Conjuring needs, though, with this idea that he's talking about where it's going to be different than anything we've ever seen. This idea that we're really going to take the Conjuring films as the main ones in the series. We only get one every 3 to 5 years maybe for a Conjuring film. That they should come out and be fresh and different and new and really grab us, because the Conjuring films are the ones that are really the stake in the ground. Those are the ones that root us to the series and say, we do want to go see The Nun. We do want to go see Annabelle. We do want to go see these things.
I do want them to do a fucking story about the Crooked Man, because if they don't fucking do a story about the Crooked Man, I'll be really fucking pissed off.
Right.
They set up that story so interestingly.
Is that The Nun?
Not during the Nun has nothing to do with the Crooked Man stuff. That was Conjuring 2 has the Crooked Man as one of the other demon things that's inside the house, but it's not that they go into that at all.
Right.
So it's a separate story that got explored, but the Nun was the one that was the least known about.
Yeah.
And now we know enough to where we're not happy with what they did.
Conjuring 5, it's actually just The Haunting of Hill House.
See, such better, like, when I think about the first Annabelle movie, and I think about The Nun, and then I think about The Haunting of Hill House, I'm like, but this is so much better.
I know.
But I love the Conjuring ones.
You know what, though? I feel like the Conjuring people are like, you know what? We need to step it up to that level.
They have to at this point, because Netflix came down and they threw their fucking Netflix dick on the ground and said, we make fucking horror shows now. and everybody has to kind of go, oh, fuck, Netflix did the thing.
Either way, I'm really excited about both Annabelle 3 and I'm super excited about Conjuring 3. I'm really hoping they can keep the level of quality rolling on the Conjuring films, because I do love recommending those to people. When people say, like, give me a good horror series to start with, I'm like, just watch the Conjuring films. There's only 2, and they're really good.
No, like, I recently, for Halloween, I went back and was rewatching 1, and I was like, oh, yeah, I remember all these things from the other movies now. It's interesting going back and rewatching it.
Yeah.
And then I fell asleep because I was going to watch the second one, and that didn't happen.
All right, that's everything we have for entertainment news this week. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going into our final segment, the epilogue.
Oh, he's the fucking drill, like, basically the drill sergeant. I can't remember his fucking name.
Yeah, all I can remember is that he's always in, like, the alternate scenes. Like, if you beat it on Legendary, there's always the ending with, like, him with a grunt or something.
I just don't remember. Dude, it's been so long since I played those games.
Yeah.
I've forgotten so much about the Halo universe. Like,
you've pushed all that knowledge out and put Destiny lore in.
No, you have to. You can only the brain's a finite amount of space. You can only cram so much shit in there over and over again. I got way too many new song lyrics up in this bitch. I drink a lot, so that's gonna, like,
that really just kills it.
A whole pausing section just makes that happen. Every movie and TV show that I watch and have to fucking keep track of, which I'm glad that I've just been cutting back, like, my things. I added a couple new ones this season, and they're literally, this show is fucking awful. I'm just playing it like to have noise in the periphery that's not the same songs I've been listening to. Speaking of, my playlist for the year from Spotify is fucking great. I listened to some great music this year.
That's pretty good stuff too.
Yeah.
Who's your number one artist? Or did you do the thing where
I did the thing? I'd have to go back and do it again.
Mine was actually Amigo the Devil.
He was on my list.
Yeah.
It was Frank. It was Amigo the Devil was on the list. Frank Turner, Jawbreaker.
Mine was 23 Hours of Amigo the Devil. It's my number one.
I don't even know how. I'm in the, like, top less than 1% for listening to artists that other people don't listen to.
Oh, very nice.
So I definitely listen to music.
So now you're an awesome hipster.
That's my hipster card. I listen to music that literally no one else listens to. That means my music is so awful that I'm the only one that likes it.
All right, let's jump into this.
I mean, hell, whenever we went to go see fucking Harley Poe, I was like, there's other people here.
Right. It was fairly packed.
No, the show sold out.
Yeah.
That was the confusing thing. It's like, other people want to see this?
Yeah. Who all wants to be sad today?
Epilogue.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. This is our epilogue. This is our main talking point for the podcast, sometimes related to the news, sometimes not. So this week we're going to be talking about the 2018 Video Game Awards. Hector was nice enough to let us come and hang at his place for the night and bought us some pizza and said, hey, let's all hunker down and watch this
I have been craving fucking Via 313's pizza since then. Oh my God, I forgot how good it is.
So we all hung out, had beers, had old fashions, really just hunkered down and watched the 2.5 hours of the 2018
Dude, this shit was like 7 hours long.
Video Game Awards.
It was so fucking long.
So I don't want to break down all the moment-to-moment stuff, but there's a lot that I want to talk about in here. So the first point that I really want to talk about when we discuss the Video Game Awards is the history of the Video Game Awards and how we used to view it. Like, how internally we used to view it.
I was going to say, we viewed it on a screen.
Right. But I mean...
which has gotten slightly more rectangular
things
over the
that
years.
we think about while we are watching it. So, for instance, let's start with the history of the Game Awards.
Yeah.
Right? It started on Spike TV. Like, years ago, it started on Spike TV, and that was their thing.
Yes. That was the kind of like the highlights of, like, the Xbox had come out. The PS2 was there. I believe that's when it started. I don't think it was in the 360 PS3 era yet.
Right.
I believe that's when Spike started doing that. And then we get to the PS3 and Xbox 360. And Spike TV was all over that shit.
Right.
And that's what everybody kind of went to. I mean, you were playing all the FIFAs. You're playing all the fucking...
At that point, when it
NBAs.
came to Video Game Awards, essentially what it would boil down to is if you were getting a Video Game Award, either like a magazine like GamePro or EGM or something would give you an award for just like best game, or you had places like, the GDC, the Game Developers Conference.
Yeah, you've got GDC, you've got the game convention in Germany. I can't remember the name of it right now.
Gamescom.
Gamescom has a really good award ceremony.
Right.
There's a few independent game ceremony things, but those are done by like.
But those were all private events, kind of held internally within the industry.
Yeah, no, the announcements came out like the next day. Right. They're like, by the way, this is who won.
The Spike Video Game Awards, when it very first came out, and that's what it was called at the time, was the Spike Video Game Awards, was touted as that it was supposed to be the Oscars for video games.
By the fans.
By the fans, right? And
for
then
the fans.
We watched it.
And it was just a commercial for the game that came out last week.
And it was bad.
It was what it was. It was a product of its time.
Right. And the reason why I asked the question, how did we view it back then, is that I remember you, me, and a bunch of friends sitting around watching the Spike Video Game Awards.
A couple of times. It wasn't like a one-off thing.
Yeah, having drinks. And I felt like we spent more time cringing and making fun of what we were seeing on screen rather than saying, this is our Oscars. I never felt proud watching the Spike Video Game Awards.
Hell no. It was just watching a shitty early 2000s spectacle of what a corporate entity that is Spike TV thinks nerd culture is.
Right.
And having it be so incredibly incorrect that it was painful.
And the problem with this situation is that Jeff Knightley, who runs it, had wanted to do a respectable and reputable award show. He found a platform with Spike to allow him to try and do it. The problem is that everybody wanted to go in a different direction. So he wanted to do the Oscars. Everybody else wanted to do Girls Gone Wild Video Game Edition.
Yeah, that's kind of what those things were. It was the early 2000s, and that was what Spike TV was, and still is, I guess. I don't know. Is it still around? I don't.
Who knows?
I don't have cable. Why does anybody have cable?
But since then, the Video Game Awards is now no longer associated with Spike TV. It is now, you can just watch it online. You can go on Twitch, you can go anywhere and just like watch the Video Game Awards.
Pretty sure its numbers blew the fuck out of the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Based on the number of people streaming it last week.
Right. So what do we feel was kind of new in the Game Awards this year of 2018 compared to what we saw in the past?
I'm going to try to kind of compare this to last year's, which was good. Mm-hmm. You could see that this is not the Spike awards, and that was last year. Was kind of like it's obviously not the Spike Awards, but it's not there yet.
We're not quite the Oscars.
Yeah, it's not the Oscars.
It's like the Kids' Choice Awards.
No, it's not that level of silly.
Okay,
it was more like it was definitely in its infancy. It's more like it was the first few years of the Oscars, and I think it's still there right now. It's still, we don't quite know exactly how to portray what we are,
right,
but we're going to do that. And I think that came down to a lot of if I'm comparing this to the Oscars this year.
Sure.
There were a few categories. They had people come up on stage to show off that you just went, why the fuck isn't this one of the ones they just say to the side? There's zero reason for it to do this. And maybe I'm just not that person.
Sure.
And these are things that I just don't care about.
Right.
But when it comes down to best streamer or best personality or whatever, I'm like, that's not a thing. That's not a thing. Right. You can't just say, you can't have the popularity vote for who this arbitrary thing is.
Right.
It doesn't make sense.
I can see that, but I do appreciate the fact that you preface that with maybe that's just not a category that I would particularly care about.
Yeah, no, and I get that. That's the reason
because
why
I feel like
stuff for
when I watch something like the
awards.
Oscars and they say like, best practical effects in a movie, but that's set to a side category. I'm like, why is that not a main category?
Yeah, no,
it all comes down.
It comes down to personal interests,
right.
And for me, those categories is like, this is just kind of cringeworthy watching this, and there were moments overall, on the whole, that were cringeworthy in this. You're just watching, you're like, why the fuck is this happening? This is and a lot of it's because these people are not actors. They are not spokespeople.
Right.
They are just getting up on stage and you're
We're
watching
just a bunch of nerds.
You're watching people that don't professionally do this, try to do this in stage and like streaming online for like basically a billion fucking people.
Yeah.
And you're actually gonna go like, that's not so good. And it will get better with time. Like I said, it's still in its infancy, but where it came from last year, it's 10 times better. It came from the earlier Spike stuff,
it's night and day.
It is night and day. Those were the shitty newspaper funny pages of Video Game Awards is like, oh, and look, Psychonauts did a thing. And you're like, this makes no sense. What the fuck are you even talking about? Right. You have no, it wasn't good.
Right.
And now it's more, its production is massively better. Mm-hmm. The writing is better. The categories are better. The video games they're actually giving awards to are worthy of them instead of being the thing that just came out. Actually, wait, I can't say that for this year. But overall, it felt like it's not just what's the game that just came out, and it wasn't trailers for the games that were coming out in 2 weeks.
Right.
Which is historically, whenever Spike was doing it, and throughout, I think there was a time where Spike wasn't doing it, and it was another platform, and it was a thing. I can't remember. I'm trying to remember the whole history.
There's a whole awkward stage.
Yeah, and it was awkward, and it was bad, and like that was post Spike, and they.
But Jeff Knightley has always come out year after year and said, like, I'm always working towards my goal.
Yes.
And for him, the goal is to be the Oscars of video games.
And we're seeing a lot closer.
Like,
he's getting us so much closer to it.
This dude is putting in the time and the work to make sure that this is a professional, presentation year after year.
And to me, it's the... I think Aaron kind of mentioned this when we were watching it. It's kind of the better version of E3 because everybody gets to make their announcements together.
Yeah,
everybody has to play nice, and
literally Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo came out on stage together.
Yeah, that was one of the awkward moments because you could tell that they're all would be good professional speakers when they're by themselves and giving presentations, but when you're reading off of a teleprompter and you're like, okay, now it's time for this guy to talk.
Right.
I'm going to stand here awkwardly. It felt odd. It really did.
But I loved the idea. Like, I understand the reason they did that. It was this moment of, we are all gamers. Here's the head of companies coming together. We should all be working together as gamers.
I seriously, though, there was a moment where I just really wish the president of Sony put his fingers in his ears and started going, la, 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 I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I'm not allowed to play with you. Because that would totally be more... indicative of what's actually goes on in the game industry.
Okay, so I'm just going to run through the list real quick. We are not going to sit here and discuss any of this, but I'll go through the awards. So best ongoing game, Fortnite got that. Best game direction, God of War got that. Best narrative, Red Dead Redemption 2. Best art direction, Return to Obra Dinn.
Yeah, that was a game I did not know about until the awards and went, holy shit, I want to play the fuck out of this.
Yeah, best score music, Red Dead Redemption 2. Best audio design, Red Dead Redemption 2. Best performance, Red Dead Redemption 2. Games with impact, winner Celeste.
Another one didn't know about. Amazing looking game.
That one looks so good. Best independent game was Celeste again. Best mobile game was Florence by Annapurna Interactive. Best AR VR game was Astrobot Rescue Mission. Action game Dead Cells. Action adventure God of War. Best role-playing game, Monster Hunter World. That was a surprising one, by the way.
Yeah.
It was up against Dragon Quest XI, Ni no Kuni 2, Octopath Traveler, and Pillars of Eternity 2. Like, those are strong contenders.
Yeah, no, honestly, every one of those, when I looked at the list and went, well, fuck, they could all win that.
Yeah. The fact that
they're all really good.
Fucking Monster Hunter won, I was like, good damn. Actually, this was another category that I was curious about, was best fighting game, because you had Blaze Blue, Soul Calibur 6, Street Fighter 5, and Dragon Ball Z, Fighter Z. And I was like, damn, literally, I don't know.
No, and that was another one. When it came up, I went, those are all really good games. Like, those are all, like, the top of the fucking fighting games. That's what they are.
Yeah.
How do you decide which one of those is the best one? You can't.
Best family game went to Overcooked 2. Best strategy game, Into the Breach, which, by the way, that was a category specifically for me and dear and dear to my heart. Battletech Frostpunk, Into the Breach, Banner Saga 3, and Valkyria Chronicles 4. I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Sophie's choice at this point. I guess just shoot all.
See, I get that, because my immediate response whenever they brought up all those titles, I went, wait, those are all just the same game, but they just look different.
I understand you don't like that genre.
Because it's a genre that I'm not a big fan of.
Sure. Best sports/racing was Forza Horizon 4. Best multiplayer game was Fortnite, obviously. Best student game was Combat 18. Best debut indie game was Winter the Messenger. Best esports, Overwatch actually won that one.
I think surprised. It's the second year in a row they've won that.
Yeah. Best esports player was Sonic Fox. Best esports team was Cloud9. Best esports coach was Reapered. Best esports event was the League of Legends World Championships. The best esports host was I can't even pronounce his name, Sajj. Best esports moment was a C9 comeback. Best content creator of the year was Ninja. And the big one that was the surprise to all of us in the room was game of the year. Because this is something that we were talking about a lot going into it. We were like, looking at the list was Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Celeste, God of War, Marvel Spider-Man, Monster Hunter World, and Red Dead Redemption 2. And all of us had the same opinion. We want something else to win, but it looks entirely likely that Red Dead Redemption is going to win this hands down.
Yeah, no, whenever... so up until this point, God of War has now won 2 awards.
Yeah.
Red Dead Redemption 2 has won, I think, 4?
Yeah. During the broadcast, we were just like, well, that solidifies it. Like, that's
yeah, we're just like, okay, Red Dead Redemption 2 gets Game of the Year because...
Yeah, because it came out 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. And that was the biggest problem of the previous years.
Yeah.
Was this game just came out, it wins everything.
Yeah. But I mean, sometimes we feel that way about the Oscars too. We see like, oh yeah, that just came out.
And that is something that we've complained about when we do our Oscar episodes, where it's specifically the most recent film. You cannot release a movie that you want to win an Oscar in February because it's going to be entirely forgotten by the time they roll around again.
Right before the Academy views it. But God of War won. And this is awesome. And I say this in the context of I actually have family personally that has worked on Red Dead Redemption, and I understand that he has put his time and love and effort into this game. And I'm not saying that Red Dead Redemption is a bad game, but if you've been listening to our podcast, you know the one thing that we've been most upset about, and the one thing that has kept us from buying this game and playing it, is the working conditions of the people that have been working at Rockstar had to undergo to create this game.
Yes,
like it was horrible.
We've been talking about this for a long time. The game industry has been talking about this for a long time. That working 80-hour weeks for like 80 weeks in a row is fucking inhumane. You cannot
with like no
do
bonuses, no overtime pay, no nothing. It's just you're lucky to work here in the games industry. So
yeah, no, and that's the reason why whenever, even though I'm not a big fan of the Sony franchise, but whenever God of War won, I was like, good. A game company that actually does give a shit about its employees.
Santa Monica cares so much about their employees.
They're known for giving a shit about their employees, about taking care of them, about whenever their employees leave to go and make their own companies, to be supportive about it. They're like, no, cool, go work for somebody else. Make your own shit. Make the game
we'll help you publish it if we like it.
Yeah.
Like, come pitch it to us when you're ready.
Yeah, no, they've been great about that. And that's one of the... reasons why I like their games so much. I mean, aside from they do great individual story-driven games, and the story of God of War. While I personally, when it was announced, said no, don't fucking do that, because I was a big fan of the original God of War games.
Yeah,
and I was like, that story is done.
Right?
It ended. That story is literally done.
Right.
I was like, if you're gonna do it differently. But unfortunately, they had to add Kratos in there, and it's okay. It's okay.
You haven't played it.
I've played parts of it. Okay, thank you very much. I have, and I still don't care that Kratos... I'm still mad that Kratos is in it, okay? It's a good story. It's got some great puzzles. It's got a great open world fun thing. I'm still pissed that it's Kratos and not another character.
Okay. I can understand that. But it's the first time I've looked at a God of War and said, I think I'm actually genuinely interested in playing this game. And I've been told that I do not need to play the other games to appreciate this.
You know, it's a straight up like... I lived in someplace else, and things happened. I live over here now. Okay. That's all you need to know.
So when we talk about the Game Awards, we said that it ran about 2.5 hours. Do we felt the Game Awards really took advantage of the time? Like, did we feel like we weren't really wasting time while we were watching the Game Awards?
So they did a couple of interesting things. They had essentially commercial breaks, but it really didn't say like, hey, we're cutting to commercial. It just felt like we're going to show you a trailer for something, which is going to lead to a trailer, which is actually a commercial, which is going to lead to another trailer commercial, which will lead us into the thing we're actually announcing and then going right into talking about.
Right.
Because it's not just an award ceremony, it is also showing off what's coming in the future for the games
Which
industry.
has always been a theme in the Game Awards. That is always, since the Spike TV days, they've always done that. Except for in the Spike TV days, one of the problems is that...
This is coming out in 2 weeks.
No, it wasn't that. It was that actually most of the awards themselves got pushed to the side. I remember distinctly all of us sitting around watching the Spike Game Awards one year, and we watched all these trailers for all these new and upcoming games. And then they would come on screen and they would say, all right, so the award for this goes to this, award for this goes to this, award for this goes to this, and they walk off stage. And they'd be like, also, here's 5 more trailers. And it was like, okay, so I'm just watching a commercial.
Here's 15 minutes of fucking that robot from Borderlands talking.
Right, and it was like,
why?
Why
did you do that?
It felt like an extended commercial, whereas this Game Awards didn't feel like an extended commercial. It felt like
they felt like there were commercial breaks and there were moments of showing off what we're working on in the future.
Yeah.
And it was kind of incorporated into the presentation a couple of times, which was fun. Sometimes it was straight up just like, yeah, we're doing this, and after I show you this, I'm gonna just give an award out. And you're like,
Sure.
okay, I'm used to that. That's how most people do. If you're thinking about late night TV shows, like the host is having a guest on, and the guest is like, hey, yeah, I'm here to talk about all these other things, but first we're gonna watch this. And that's the movie I did. Now we're going to talk about other things.
Right.
That's kind of what it felt like, and that felt acceptable. Is it Oscar-worthy level of presentation? No, because you do not get that in the Oscars.
Sure, there aren't advertisements in the Oscars.
There are advertisements. There's commercial breaks, but they're for Folgers Coffee or what the fuck ever. They are not this game that I want to talk about on stage. And this is showing how different the games industry is from everything else. And I think that since the game industry is still growing, we eventually have to move past this being a E3 hybrid, which is what it is right now. It's a very, very good E3 hybrid with the now level of presentation, the care that they're putting into the awards part of it, and the E3 presentation of this is what the games industry is putting out. And that's it's that battle right now. It used to be more in favor of what the industry is putting out and not the awards. It's a pretty good mix right now. I think it needs to go more towards the awards for it to truly become what it should be.
Maybe just down a little bit of the commercials, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Like not necessarily the commercial breaks, because just those you got to pay for it somehow, right? But the in-presentation first exclusive trailers, because those those are commercials, but they're new exclusive trailers. But that's a way to draw people in.
That's the thing, is that
that's the problem. Like that's how you draw people in, right?
I feel like I'm the counterpoint to this, because we saw things like the Ultimate Alliance announcement, and that announcement didn't take more than maybe a minute to a minute and a half. And after it was done, I was like, I am so fucking erect right now. I love this.
All right, so for me, while I was like, holy shit, I'm getting Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. The ending came up and I went, oh, fuck, I have to play it on Switch.
Sure.
But Psychonauts was my, holy fuck, I knew this game was coming. I actually get to see this game playable in, I guess, a FMV of it or a trailer of it.
It exists.
It exists. It's there. It's coming out.
So I'll tell you the things that I like and dislike, right? So this was actually one of my points, is what I like and dislikes. And I want to narrow this down to the preview things. So when I watched the trailer for the announcement for Persona coming into Smash Brothers, I got really excited and super hype about it. Okay. Now, the reason for this is that they got the voice actors to come back. They did a whole skit with it. It was a whole, it felt like a hype train, right? You know, even though you don't like those things, you could watch that and you're like, this
there were some really fun. The entire time they kept doing commercials for Smash Brothers during it, because it's coming out in a week?
Yeah, it's out now.
Okay, so it's out now. It was like the next day whenever it was coming out. And they kept doing commercial after commercial. Yeah. But they were all fun and unique, and they only would work if you saw them in the order that they were being played on in that environment.
And then suddenly Persona pops up, and you're like, why the fuck is Persona 5 here? Like, this is weird. And then he's like, LOL, we're going to Smash Brothers. And I was like, motherfucker. Like, they drop it on you. Like, it was very well done and very well paced. What I didn't care for was shit like the Dragon Age 4 announcement.
Which wasn't a Dragon Age 4
announcement. Which was basically
but
a weird drawing that only people who really loved Dragon Age would go, oh, that's a Dragon Age 4 announcement. It provided no information, no context.
My information was like, oh, they're making another game that's not Dragon Age, that's not Mass Effect.
I have no idea. I'm that in the dark about it.
Yeah, no, because I'm not a big fan of Dragon Age. I don't like most of BioWare's games.
Right, but I don't even care about that. I felt I felt that at the end of that minute to minute and a half, my time was wasted, because I had no idea what the product was, what was coming out. When I saw that Smash Brothers trailer, I knew exactly what was going on.
Is that a fault of the trailer that they created, or is it you're not a fan of that universe?
No, because I do like the Dragon. I mean, I've only played like one or two of the games, but I'm a fan.
Literally like 2.5, so yeah.
So, but the idea behind it was that when I watched the Smash Brothers trailer, I got to see all this interesting stuff that is a game that I may or may not pick up. I don't own a Switch. I couldn't tell you if I'm picking it up. But I was like, you know what? I understand the content that is coming to that platform soon. Whereas this Dragon Age trailer was literally something that if I knew nothing about it, I'd be like, that's a weird bunch of hieroglyphics, and I guess that's a dragon being painted? I have no idea.
Yeah, I know what the fuck that thing was.
Because it is a concept that is so far out from where it's going to be coming out. the Persona 5 Smash Brothers DLC is coming soon.
It's coming out in like 3 months or some shit.
If it's not already out, then it is coming out. Like in the near future. This trailer they showed was something you'd see at fucking E3 at a fucking Sony or Microsoft booth. It would be like, oh, here's our big trailer for what's coming around the corner. Motherfucker, that thing ain't coming for 3 more years, all right? That's exactly what that was. And I don't want that. I want that.
Because they're about to release Anthem in February.
Right. Bring me that hype train.
Anthem is basically, it's a looter shooter game, which they're going to spend.
Also, that Anthem trailer was so good.
That was the first time we actually got introduced to a bad guy or any of the aside from the world environment being the villain.
Right.
So this is like, we're like, oh, there's plot.
So
now.
what I'm saying is that if you're going to show these advertisements during the Video Game Awards, make them for things that are happening in the next like 6 to 8 months.
So what I'm hearing is BioWare is really shitty about telling stories within Dragon Age universe.
Apparently they are. But yeah, I mean, that's what this all boils down to is just if you're going to be shelling out the money for these really cool advertisements you're going to be putting in these world premieres in your Video Game Awards, make them something that gamers get to look forward to over the next year. Don't put something shitty like a Dragon Age not trailer.
For me, it's the next year idea.
Yeah.
The Game Awards should be things that are coming out within the next year.
Right.
That they're not 5 years down the road. They're not 10 years down the road. That's E3 territory. That's Microsoft being like, yeah, here's Halo Infinity.
Right.
It'll come out when we fucking release it, but doesn't it fucking look good?
Exactly. Like that's what E3's for. When we go to the Game Awards, we want to see things that are coming right around the corner, and especially
not necessarily right around the corners. I don't want 2 weeks.
Well, I mean, like within the year, something that gives us a really cool hype train for a thing that we're excited about. Right?
Yeah.
So this kind of brings us down to the final question that I have. I actually have 2. The first one, let's make really fast. Does the format of the awards ceremony, that being an online stream, really take full advantage of what they could do with it? This year, they only kind of had an online poll to guess what the award would go to. Could they do something more with it, or
do not leave voting up to the internet? Never.
Sure. I'm not asking about that, but what they're saying is that they made the poll so the fans could vote on what they guess.
It's to make it feel like it's being interactive. It's to add a fucking.
But could it be more interactive?
Yeah, they could totally make it where you have to tweet to do a thing, and you could unlock fucking Twitch emojis or some bullshit.
Okay.
They could make it all those things. Does it need to be those things? Hell no.
Okay.
If you're wanting to be the Oscars, don't play to the lowest common denominator, because that's not the Oscars. That's the People Choice Awards. That's the Nickelodeon fucking awards. Right. That's the MTV awards.
Okay.
Do you want it to be the MTV awards, or do you want to be the fucking Oscars?
Okay.
That's your level. Do you want people to arbitrarily dial in a phone number to put in their thoughts and comments, or read live tweets along the bottom of the screen while it's happening? No, you fucking don't.
Right.
You want a legitimate, actual presentation of awards and some E3 fun of what's coming out in the next year.
All right, so this brings me to my final question, which is, did the Game Awards feel like the award show that we've always wanted?
It's almost there.
Yeah.
It's almost there. This year was a huge step forward. This was kind of like you've entered your junior year of high school. We've seen this basically from its grade school to now in high school development. We've watched it for essentially that amount of time. Yeah. And it is now getting ready to be leaving high school and going into college. It's going to be getting to a high enough state that it has to compete on that level.
Yeah.
And does it have any other competition? Not really, but that's fine.
It doesn't need to, though.
It's competing with itself to get better every year, and it has been doing that.
And that's what Jeff Knightley brings to the table, is that he always, in my mind, and I don't know the guy personally, I'm not dropping his name or anything. He's not my friend Jeff Knightley.
Dude, me and him play Diablo together. It's cool.
But what I'm saying is that what Jeff Knightley's really brought to the table is that he's always tried, he's had this goal in mind, right? That he's seen the peak. Like if this was the game Journey, he knows where the mountain is. Mm-hmm. Like the mountain is being the Oscars. And every step of that journey that we've been following along with him, we've laughed at it, we've cried at it, whatever. We've now seen those awards going towards that mountain. And it's going to be really awesome when we get there. At this point, it's just, I know I've been using this phrase a lot.
It's baby steps.
It's baby steps. Right now, where he's at with the Game Awards is just kind of filing off the rough edges just a little bit more, and we're right there.
Yeah, no, and a lot of it has to come down to, I feel like they need to kind of control what commercials they do and do not allow.
Sure.
Things like, okay, for the Dragon Age one, they should have said, yeah, if you want to announce Dragon Age here, not that way, because that way is going to be confusing as shit. The Magic the Gathering fucking tournaments, the actual physical card game tournament thing that they were showing, that had the worst musical choice of the entire fucking thing, with the commercial that made no fucking sense. Like, they had like 3 Magic trailers, and those were fine. Those were for like the new Arena video game, and it was fine, and they made sense in the environment. And then they had that one that I've seen on YouTube since then, and I just went, I remember watching going, what the fuck is this? This is stupid. Right. It looks like you're doing a fucking NBA 2K fucking trailer commercial thing, but for Magic the Gathering. No one who plays Magic the Gathering or is interested, or you're possibly going to think about playing it, is going to be skewed by watching that commercial. Yeah. That was the worst marketing decision. And I know that they can't just say no to everybody that's coming in there.
Especially that kind of money is being put into it.
Yeah, no, fucking Hasbro money is like that's a lot of fucking money.
Yeah, absolutely. But I feel like we are to your point, I feel like we're getting there. I actually walked away from the Game Awards this year going, I feel like we're where the show is when I first envisioned it. When the first time they said Spike TV Video Game Awards, it's the Oscars of video games. This year is basically what I pictured.
So it's what you pictured. Whenever I hear Spike TV Video Game Awards, I picture exactly what we got, because it started with Spike TV.
It started with people bouncing on balls, like in like half naked.
It was girls in bikinis, and it made no fucking sense.
Right.
And that's exactly what we deserved and rightly so, because it was on Spike.
Right.
And that's what Spike is. And Spike not has any shame in that. You're unabashedly Spike TV.
Right.
You know what you're getting.
Hey, you own it.
Yeah, they own that fucking idea, that misogynistic ridiculousness level of television channel.
Right.
That's what they are. They embody it. That's their premise.
But now we're past it.
We are past that. We are in the age of Twitch. We are in the age of you can make whatever the fuck you want online and present it to people. And if you have enough gumption and know-how and fuckload of money behind you, you can make things that take place in the Microsoft fucking arena that it looks gorgeous and sounds amazing and has all the cool lights. And my favorite part of the entire thing was the every time that was somebody was presenting on one side that had to, in the minute that they had her trailer going on, to run to the other side of the stage and watch them be kind of exhausted whenever they were got back there on screen.
Also, we got Muppets this year, by the way.
Oh, dude, Pepe the fucking shrimp.
That was so good.
He was all right, out of that section, because I think that was the best persona or whatever, the best online personality. Yeah. I was like, okay, the category I give the least fucks about. I have zero giving a shit or even know who these people are, aside from they show up in my news feed and I tell it to block that news feed. Right. I literally, that's why I tell Google every time when it comes up, I'm like, I don't care about this person. They are not a person to me. Make this go away. This isn't news.
Right.
But when I have Pepe the Shrimp, a Muppet, who's wanting to take selfies the entire time, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm cool with all the dialogue of this. No one gets an award. The Muppet gets the award. Everyone else can fuck off and die.
Best personality, Muppet. All right, so I think overall what we've kind of broken down here is that as people that have watched the Video Game Awards since its inception, it has really come a long way. And honestly, we do feel like this is becoming our Oscars, our respected, industry-wide, everybody can watch this and have a good time and understand what's going on without anybody feeling like how do I put this? When you watch the Oscars, one of the things they're really good at is breaking down these films or movies that maybe a wider audience has not reached. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we got that with the Video Game Awards this year. It felt like they made it accessible to people that
whenever there was two indie titles that are up for multiple awards across the board, there's 2 or 3 indie titles that straight up one of them was a cell phone game. That was up for multiple awards. Yeah. And you're like, how in the fuck did a cell phone game? You're like, no, it's really just that fucking good. Go play it. And you're like, okay, now I'm interested, because I don't play a lot of cell phone games because generally they suck.
I had not seen Celeste at all, and I saw for the awards. And there was this moment in their speech where they were talking about hey, if there's anybody out there that is struggling with any mental health issues, and maybe our game helped you through that, just let us know. I just want to say that we're here with you, and we hear you. And I was like, I really suddenly want to play this game.
That sounded great. If that's the premise behind it, then I'm like, cool. That's the kind of games that I envision.
Yeah,
games that actually change fundamentally like the way you think or help you deal with things. We don't have a lot of those.
Yeah.
We have a lot of go shoot the thing over here,
right,
or look at the top of this map and run down these 3 hallways.
Right. There's a lot of that going on. All right. So overall, I think we've been really happy with the progress of the Video Game Awards. I think that if I had one message to Jeff Knightley, I know that he's listening to the show right now, it's that do not rest on your laurels. Make next year bigger and better.
I've already talked to him about this. He's going to.
Yeah. You've already talked to him. You guys played Diablo together.
We played Diablo together. That's what we do. No, he's shown year after year. And every time you talk to him and watching the evolution of you can see whenever he had to do like the spokesman person's like it's like this is what we made, this is what I wanted, and you can kind of see he's not happy with it.
Yeah.
And now you're seeing like I am almost to my dream. My dream is here. Like my dream is existing now.
Yeah.
And you can see it every time he starts talking about these the Video Game Awards and his work there. And I think we, as a big fan of the video game industry, finally have something that feels like it is for the fans and the creators all together, for the community, and it is going to be our legitimate awards for video games.
Absolutely. All right, that's everything that we have for the show this week. I hope you enjoyed our big old discussion about the Video Game Awards.
Go watch them. They're fucking replayable.
Yeah,
on
go
Twitch
online.
And
yeah, go watch
YouTube
them
and shit.
After you're done with our show, which is now.
Yeah, right now.
If you have if you did watch the Video Game Awards or have any opinions about the Video Game Awards, Tony, where can they find us?
Facebook.com/sillinerd. Like, share with your friends. Info@sillinerd.com is our email address. Sillinerd.com is our website. There's a donate button if you want to donate the show. Some articles to read about some stuff. Which reminds me, I really need to talk to the people who make Toe Jam Winner because they sent us an email. Oh. I'm allowed to say they sent us an email.
That is true. They did.
I just can't tell you what the email's about. I just need so that's our email address. There's a donate button. Donate button on twitch.tv/sillinerd if you like to donate to the show. Give us a rating on any podcast provider. Hit the subscribe button. We're on the fucking Spotify. I've subscribed on Spotify.
You should too.
You should too. I mean, I like Spotify. Like, we talked about it so much, like in between sections of the show.
We did talk a lot about Spotify, actually. And if you ever want to hear those little middle sections where we're just kind of rambling aimlessly, you can always go to twitch.tv/thesurlynerd during our live performances, and you'll hear all kinds of weird, out of context stuff that usually involves our animals. So there's that.
Yep.
All right, that's everything we have for the show this week. Thank you very much, Adventurers, for sticking with us. Until next week, for Tony, this is James.
For James, this is Tony.
Adventurers, good night.
And good game.
Yay.
I was just thinking, I was trying to figure out a way to put in Hector's hi in there.
I gotta pee so bad.
That was the end of my work. I had like the last 45 minutes of my shift I had to pee, and I didn't have a chance to go pee. Like the moment it was over, I was like, and I need to go over here. All right, I'm gonna sign us out. I'm done.